Okay, good morning, everybody. We're starting to slow down with the attendees here. It's a bit like popcorn. They say that, once you hear a few seconds between the pings, it's usually time to go. So good morning, all. My name is Matthew Long. I am the federal lead for the Echo Web project here at FTA. With me on the call, we've got a few other members of the FTA team. We've got Sunny Alam, who will be helping us with the presentation. We have Alyssa Burnett, Gregory Nesberg, and Abdi Sheikh. These are all members of our Echo Web Technical Support Group. Welcome, everyone, to Echo Web Grantee Training. We are going to be holding these types of trainings at a roughly 6-month interval moving forward, just to make sure that we are continuing to get the word out and help people understand how to use the product, and also to answer any questions that people have. So as we go through the meeting, what I would ask is that if you all see any questions that you would like to raise, please go ahead and put those into chat. I'll be monitoring chat, as will other members of our presenter group here, and we will do our best to answer those questions as they come up. We will also have various points during the presentation where, as we find a natural pause, we'll stop and we'll address any of the questions in chat that are interesting or seem to be asked by multiple people, and try and get those just out for the group so that we can discuss as needed. So once again, thank you all for joining. We're going to get started here in just a second. And as I said before, if you do have any questions or concerns or commentary, please don't hesitate. Put that up in chat. I or one of the other people in the presenter group here will be able to respond to you. So with that in mind, I'm going to go ahead and turn things over to Sunny, who's going to be leading our training today. Sunny, take it away.
Thank you, Matt. Hi, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Electronic Clearinghouse Operation, Echo Web training. For agenda today, we will go over the background and overview of the system integration and the module. We'll learn how to use the system and its role overview, and we'll go over the navigation through payment tab, my task, account management, and help.
And sorry, Sunny, before you keep going, you've got a little Microsoft search pop-up that's showing up on your screen there. Thank you so much. Yeah.
All right, thank you. So the Echo Web application allows FTA grant recipients to request payments from their grant awards. Grantees make payment requests in Echo Web throughout the day, and twice a day, the FTA's internal financial management system, which is the FMS, batches and collects this request for processing and submission to the US Treasury. Echo Web is integrated with several other systems and working together to deliver the grant payment request functionality. Security is crucial for FTA applications. Users are authenticated into Echo Web through login.gov. In addition, FTA utilizes the FTA Access Control Entry System, which is known as the FACES, for managing user roles in Echo Web. The system will allow users to manage permission to the system as well as run user reports. SAM.gov is the government's main source of information for grant recipient organization information. Echo Web interfaces with SAM.gov to pull this information, so it is very important to ensure that your organization's SAM.gov profile is accurate. So once the user is securely logged in and has received the grantee role associated with an organization, grantees are then able to request payments. Once submitted through the Echo Web, the payment request goes through the FMS, which is a final check for submission to the US Treasury. So after the decision from the Treasury has been made, TRAMs provide Echo Web with the payment disbursement status. TRAMs also provide grant-related information to Echo Web, including information like grant number and various grant-related codes. Prerequisites to using the system. So in order to use the system, we need to make sure that The user must have a Faces user account with an EchoWeb role. User must be associated with an organization, and user also must have an active login.gov account. So there are 4 system modules that we'll go over today in our presentation. The first is the payment management. This is the functionality that allows users to submit payment requests, modify or cancel payment request before transmission to FMS, allow users to view the status of their submitted request and view the final status of payments. Task management, which is the functionality that allows users to ensure a grant payment request where they left off in case if there needs to be a break in the connection before they complete the submission. So it saves all the progress. Account management, which is allow users to view their organization's SAM status and their basic information, and also lists of all the users associated with that organization. Help management, which is allow users to share documentations such as user guide, FAQs, policies, and other information within the user community. So there are main roles the recipient users. There are 4 of them for recipient users. One is the user manager. This user within the organization who can manage the user roles for others. This is a Faces role, which deactivate and reactivate users, also recertify annually. Authorizing official. This is required role that every organization must have filled in order to request payments. They receive notifications whenever any payment request is submitted for an organization. Read-only, as the name suggests, this user is only a read-only view. They can only view the payment request and other basic informations about their organization, and they cannot take any other actions to submit request or any other added privileges. User manager can have a read-only role in addition to the user manager, but no other roles in EchoWeb are compatible with the read-only role. And the last, we have Grantee. Grantee are the main users of the EchoWeb. They are able to create and submit payment requests for their organizations in EchoWeb. They can also cancel a payment before it sends to FMS. And we'll go over the Grantee role today during our presentation. So before I walk you through the presentation, I'll pause here. If there's any questions in the chat, we can address now before we start the demo.
Thank you, Sunny. So far, we've not had any questions in chat. I'll just pause here for a moment. If there's anybody who would like to ask a question at this point, please go ahead. Otherwise, we're going to be doing a system demo here in just a moment. So if you have any questions, please let us know. And Sunny, I'm not seeing any questions in chat so far, so I think we're clear to go ahead.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. So for today's demonstration, I will be walking you through in our UAT environment as a Grantee user who is Anna Long. Email address is shown on the screen, and we'll log into the Tribe platform. Once the user is logged in, this is the Transit Integrated Appian platform, or known as the Triad homepage. This is a landing page for many FTA applications, and some of you may already be familiar with this page from using the other FTA systems. As you see, we do have an EchoWeb application here, and if you have access to additional applications such as TRAMS or NTD, they will also be shown here. So this user has only EchoWeb access since it's a Grantee user. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the EchoWeb. So upon selection, you are automatically taken to EchoWeb landing page. This landing page gives you the information reflects the users with the Grantee role, and outlines that this user has a single organization access, On the top, you'll see the payment request module, account management, my task, and help, which I will go over each in details. Below the dashboard, you have the filters, collapsible filters. This gives you the payment request filters that gives you overall of the message number, the date request, the status, the region, grant number, recipient name, ECN, and project number. So using this filter, you can filter any of the information for the payment request. And this grid gives you the payment request, which shows you the high level information regarding the payment that is selectable by the message number. So we have the message number, which is the unique identifier of the payment. The grant number is the payment associated, the project number, region, ECN, the recipient name, which is the grantee or organization. The total is the sum of the project lines within the request, the requested when the payment has been made, and their request status. The status do get changed based on the time of the day. And then we do have a status date reflects the last time and the date process status was modified. If you scroll down, you'll see at the bottom that there is a generator report. You can click on the generator report and then the confirmation will appear and you can select yes to generate a report. The document will generate an Excel file at the bottom down here, and usually takes a couple of minutes, but you will be able to see the Excel, downloadable Excel, show you all the payments for this report. You could filter down to specific statuses, and I'll go over the status in just a few minutes. And here you'll see the request payment. For grantee, everyone can see a request payment. This button is only selectable for grantee. So we'll go ahead and show you how to create a payment by selecting a request payment. This brings you a create payment request. This is for recipient Alabama Department of Transportation. Requested is today's date, 11/15. And then the request number. Request number is basically a sequence number automatically generates each time you enter EchoWeb system to make a request or a return. This number resets to 1 in the first fiscal year, federal fiscal year. And as mentioned before, approving official that you must have for each recipient. So we do have the approving official and ECN, which is the control ECN echo control number is the grantee organization ID number. And then there, here on the bottom, you'll see two radio button by automatically, you will be selected to TRAMS grant. So TRAMS grant is the system that it's updated to, I think, from February 2026. And the Teams grant radio button generates payments for legacy. This is probably stores updates information about grant obligations and authorized disbursements in the legacy. And the TRAMS grant, today I'll show you how to create a payment for TRAMS grant. As mentioned, that this is a new updated to TRAMS system opened in February 2016. And a grant number, this will give you, it's also known as the FAIN identification number. This number applies to our stage to indicate particular grant, and you'll see several of them. You can select the one that you need to draw or request payment against. Project number. So for each grant, there could be one or more project numbers. A project can be one or more activities linked together and can have more than one funding source. So we do see that there is one project number that you need to select. By selecting this, it enables you to go to next page. So we'll go ahead and go to next page. This is the second page of the create payments request. We'll select the PO number, which is the purchase order numbers. That's generated when FTA completes a fund reservations and can be presented multiple scope of the PO numbers. So right now we only see a one PO number. We'll select that. The scope code is the scope work of an agreement defined by projects. We'll select that. And then we have scope suffix. These are assigned so that recipients with multiple budget scopes of the same type can be drawn. And this automatically assigns a suffix each time a budget scope in the grant, if there is one. The billable balance is current as of 8 a.m. Eastern time of yesterday. This includes including pending payments. And the request amount, it needs to be a positive number. It cannot be lower than $1 whole, and it cannot be more than the billable balance. So if you enter a payment that is more than the billable balance, it'll throw you an error message. Also gives you the project amounts cannot be over, and it throws you the error message. So go ahead and select a positive number that is less than the available balance. Select 891. And it will deduct you from the available balance, and it shows you the total request. You can also make a return of an overpayment on the same screen. You can also check the balance on the same screen. So adding another project, we'll go ahead and show you how to do a refund. You need to enter negative numbers by selecting negative, and then we'll select $91 as a refund, and it'll show you a return. There is a removal. You can remove each line items. There could be up to 20 line items at this request. You can select back to select a different grant or PO number. This will take you back here, and you can select multiple or different grant number and project numbers. If this looks good, you can go ahead, select next again, and it will save you where you left off. Once this looks good, we'll go ahead and select next. And you can also, at any point, you can cancel it. By canceling, this will not save you any of this information. So go ahead and go to next. This is the final page where it just gives you confirmation of everything, making sure that all the grant number, project number, your PO number, and request amounts are all accurate. And if it's a return, it'll show you that. At any point, again, you can go back and select a different amount, cancel, and of course you can submit. So I'm going to go ahead and submit. This will populate a confirmation page with the details of the message number, recipient, ECN, the grant number. It gives you the request date, the requester, and then the line items and the total amount. You can print, you can download. We'll go ahead and close and return to the payment request screen. In the payment request screen, where is the landing page? In here, you'll see that the message number populated with the pending status. So the status follows that there are 4 different statuses. Pending is the payment request, which has been justly created and has not been sent to FMS. We have completed. Completed is when the user requested the payment and it has been accepted by FMS. And then there's a canceled. Cancel is the user canceled the payment request before it could be transmitted to FMS. We have another status. Once this pending payment is sent to FMS, it will change the status to processing. So that means that payment request has sent to FMS, but FMS has not yet accepted or rejected the payment request. Once they do that, then that will be payment will have the completed statuses. So we'll go ahead and navigate a message number. So we just created a payment request of $800, and this could be modified, canceled before it sends to FMS. And this is a summary page that gives you the payment message number, overall view of the grant name, grant number, project number, status, and the recipient, all the informations. And this is, you can cancel the payment. So cancel payment can be done before it sends to FMS. And the processing daily is Monday through Friday at 7:50 a.m. Eastern Time and 1:50 p.m. Eastern Time. You can cancel the payment before that time. You can also edit that payment before that time. And we all have export confirmation PDF. So edit will give you, if you go to edit, it gives you this payment is locked for editing. So there will be tasks assigned to you if it's not been completed, the editing portion, and it will not send it to unlocked payments will not be submitted to the next day processing. So this is just like how you want to add payment request, add multiple, or can delete, remove, and then I'm going to go ahead and cancel it. By canceling the payment, you must continue, say yes. So we have not edited the payment, but you are able to do that before it sends to FMS. The history gives you the details of the action, last type, and updated the value and updated date. You can also search the payment request in the payment request history. We also have the related actions, just like how we have here, cancel, edit, and export. Under related actions, these actions can be also selected from here. So that's payment request, our main functionality for Grantee. I'll pause here. If there's any questions in the chat, we can go over before I go into account management.
Thank you, Sunny. So once again, if we do have any questions, any comments, any concerns, any advice that people would like to share, please do not hesitate to put that in chat. We do have several people monitoring. We're happy to answer questions. Currently, I am still not seeing anything in chat, and I'm starting to wonder if it's working.
Yeah, there's been some questions in chat, Matt. I'm surprised you can't see it.
I can't see it. All right, Gregory. Well, why don't you take them away, and we'll see if we can grab it there.
Okay, so 1:50. It's 1:50 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, correct, Sunny, for the payment submission.
1:50 p.m. And also 7:50 a.m. It submitted twice.
And Eastern Standard Time, but that is, yeah, that's correct.
Let me see. How do I find? George said, "How do I find out why a grant application was not approved?"
That is a really good question. One thing that we do want to emphasize here is that there is a dialogue that, ideally is taking place in coordination with any submission in EchoWeb with your regional office and also, if necessary, with FTA financial teams. So presently, if there is a problem where the request is not approved, that's typically a question that would need to go to our accounting office within FTA. They have the insight into not just FTA's accounting system, but also to the Treasury accounting system that would be able to answer that question. The short version is you can put in a help desk ticket, and that will get routed to the appropriate person.
Charles Kofta asked, "What is the PO number again?" I'm not quite sure. Matt, do you know what the
PO number? It's the purchase order number, which are generated when FTA completes a fund reservations. And it can be multiple ones for each project, PO number.
So I would think that would be something that would be showing up on the one of the payment request views where we would be looking into that, correct, Sunny?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, to piggyback off of that, Michelle Alexander asked, does the PO number tie to anything in trams for the grantee?
No, it does not. No, that is specific to Echo Web.
Let's see. I'm trying to sift through here. Scott Jensen asked, so the return can only be done with an offset, cannot do just a return, correct?
That is correct. You have to have a positive dollar request before you can put in a negative dollar return. That is due to some very interesting treasury policy to which we are not privy. If you want to just do a flat return, that would need to go through pay.gov.
Let's see. Talicia Clark asked, is the available balance for the total grant or for the project scope?
I believe it is for, so it depends on how you select your drop downs, but typically it would be for the project line item in trams. If you're in team, I believe it would be for the total grant. Sunny, please correct me if that's wrong.
I believe so.
Yeah.
All right. John Toger said, can you return more money than requested? Using your example, could you have requested $900?
No, because 900 would offset you to negative numbers. You can request multiple returns as long as your PO balance is positive. Like request amount is positive.
So there was also some questions about using Sean Miller said, can the Echo Web system be updated to allow payments to the penny instead of whole dollar amounts?
Actually, no, it cannot. That is one of the other interesting little policy things to which we are beholden. So we only do payments up to whole dollars. It's a good question, though.
Yeah. Christina Junker asked, is it possible to do a return without requesting funds on the same request?
No, not currently. Again, if you want to just do a flat return, if you just need to send money back, unfortunately, at this time, the only way to do that is to go through pay.gov. And we do recognize that that is not a particularly efficient way to go about things, but unfortunately, that's just the options that are available to us currently.
And Catherine Alvarado asked, can you further explain the return?
Sure. The best way to look at it, as somebody had said earlier, is more of an offset. So as long as you have submitted a payment request with a positive payment request, which is to say you're asking for X amount of money, you can submit a return in conjunction with that payment request, so long as that return is less than that amount of money. So if I sent in a request for $900, I could do a return up to $899.
Right. Let's see. And I know, Sunny, you answered this question already about payments can be canceled while in the process.
Correct, yes.
If it's an pending sum.
As long as you're in pending status, they can be canceled. So one thing that you'll notice is that if you go into your payment request and you see something like that that is pending, and then let's once again, if we could click into that payment, please, Sunny, we'll just show that off one more time. Excuse me. And then if you hover over the cancel payment button real quick, it gives you that pop-up that shows when the processing times are. So as long as you can hit that cancel payment or edit payment button before those processing times, again, Eastern Standard Time, the payment can be canceled or edited or whatever.
I think we got some other ones. Let me just check real quick here. Okay, so Maria Sanchez said we don't have to do return payments in pay.gov like in the past, correct? They can be done in this new system, FTA Triad, or can we still do them in pay.gov?
You can do them either way. So again, if you are not submitting a payment request, if you're just doing a flat return, then that always needs to go through pay.gov. But you can do returns through pay.gov regardless. You do not have to do them through Echo.
Let me see here. Luis Moreno said, do you have to submit separate payment requests for grants with more than one scope code?
Yes. Yep.
Right.
Because if you see on the screen here, it tracks it by scope code. So that's one of the things that you select as you go through your payment request. However, you can do up to 20, I think it was 20, Sunny, payment requests in the same instance.
That's right.
Yep.
Let's see. April Phillips asked, how do I approve a payment created by staff?
Okay, let's unpack that. So if you have what's termed the grantee role in Echo Web, which you can check by going into your user profile, then that means that you can submit a payment request. If you have what's called the approving official role in Echo Web, that is a role that just receives a notification. So there's no further action required by an approving official. They just receive a notification that someone within their org has submitted a payment request. It's a bit of a double check. It's in there to ensure that at least two people within a recipient organization are getting some information that a payment request has been submitted. So if you're an approving official, you do not have to take any action. If you are a grantee, the only action that you have to take is to go through the payment request process, as Sunny has demonstrated. And once you hit that submit button, that payment request is off and running and into the wild and will be processed through Treasury, or possibly not, depending on circumstances, according to that process.
Right. Grady Nellison asked, can the agency assign this echo process to personnel within the department, or is this something only done only by the finance/accounting department?
The grantee user can be assigned to any person within your organization. So if I am WMATA, for example, FTA does not have any current restrictions on who can hold that grantee role within WMATA, provided that they are entered appropriately by WMATA's user manager, and that we don't receive any notification of suspension or something like that. But it does not have to be somebody within your finance office. It can be anybody.
Great. The next question is Saria Pinnick asked, can payment be canceled after going to FMS?
At that point, no. It's a bit like Amazon is a good analogy. You know how if you do an Amazon order, there comes a point where you can no longer cancel the order. It's just sort of out there for delivery. It's the same kind of philosophy with FMS. Once the payment request goes to FMS, it's a bit like going out for delivery. So at that point, it cannot be canceled. It is out and running, and it's going to track its way through the other federal systems as it would normally. And then at that stage, it's too late for a cancellation. If there's been an error, you would need to make a return at some later date. If it was an over request, I should say.
So we also have another couple of questions here. Could you show how to view all the past payments successfully in the drawdown? And there was another question. Could you please go over the last entry with a second line return?
Sure. So let's do the first one first. So if you're on your home screen here, this is the screen where users in Echo Web land. This filters bit at the top here. If you just go to request status and you say completed, there you go. That'll filter down by all the requests that your agency has put in that have, and this is a critical point, that have been completed in FMS. Now, there's a caveat to that statement, which is that while we are working on getting a little bit more tight integration with the Treasury information, at present, all this is showing is that FMS has completed processing on that payment request. If you go into individual payments, let's click on one of these that's completed. 1:50 Eastern Standing, that's correct. When you see the processing status on the project lines, that's where you will see whether or not the payment has actually processed successfully. So we are working on getting this a little bit better integrated with Treasury. It's been a bit of a lift to do that, but that is very, very high on our agenda. We're hoping to have that completed before the end of the calendar year. And that will enable a bit more intuitive views into things. But in general, if you wanted to see all of your completed payment requests, it is as simple as going to your home page and selecting the completed filter, and then that's all the payment requests that have gone through to FMS for processing. And then, Sunny, if we wanted to unfilter that, and let's go through one more time, and we'll show off the return functionality for a payment request.
Okay, sure. So go ahead, select request payment, select your grant, project number, select next, your PO numbers, scope, suffix. And this gives you that available balance. This includes the pending payments. So if you select right now, this gives you a return, but you cannot do a return, as we mentioned, that has to be a positive number greater than 0. So we'll add another PO number. And we'll add $100. See, total request is $9. And the refund you're requesting is $91. Go ahead, select next. If this looks good, you can go ahead and submit the payment. And this will submit you for $9 request total amount.
Yeah. So again, this is the functionality that we are allowed to use here. Again, we recognize that there are certain intricacies that come with federal systems. Unfortunately, this is one of them. This is basically just a way to track that a de facto return is being made here, indicating that the agency had over requested or had received more money than expected in the previous payment request. And for some reason, now all of a sudden, I'm starting to get the meeting chat. So that's fun. So yeah, that's an interesting one. Gregory, where did we get to here?
So we got to, for where I left off, Jeanette Buckley at 1126 was asking, how do I take a grantee user out of the system? This person is not approved to do payments. She is not in our department. So
Gotcha.
that's where I was leaving off.
There's 3 ways you can do it. If you have a user manager already assigned within Echo Web, then that person can remove this individual from the system. Failing that, if you contact your region, the regions have an official who is called a local security manager, or LSM. Your regional LSM can remove that person from the system. If you cannot get in touch with either of those 2 people, you can submit a help desk ticket, and the help desk will probably circle back around with the user manager or the LSM to get that person removed from the system. So there's 3 paths. I would start with your user manager if you know who that is, and go from there. What's next, Gregory?
Jessica Gardner said, how do I apply for access to my organization's dashboard as an administrator? The former administrator resigned in July.
Well, we were just talking about LSMs and user managers. That would be a good way to do it. So again, if you know your organization's user manager, contact them. Otherwise, contacting the FTA region, your FTA region, their LSM should be able to take care of you. And if either one of those fail, the help desk is always an option as well.
All right. Bonnie said, so if payments were drawn on the wrong scope code, can you do a positive on the right code and a return on the wrong code to correct the transaction?
I think the answer to that is yes. Sunny, is that
the
correct answer?
Yeah.
It's just the overall request that has to be positive. And I think we're all caught up. Okay, I think I'm tracking where we are. So
Yeah.
Helen is asking, once the request is approved, how long would the fund be sending to the requester via wire transfer or check? How long would the fund be sending the requester? I think what we're asking here is how long would it take for funds to be delivered? It's typically several days. Again, once the request is approved, then it starts percolating through the various treasury systems that control payment. We only have visibility into the front end of those systems, so it's a bit difficult for us to give a definitive answer, but it's typically several days to a week. Venus asks, what if the processing status says no response? That would indicate that FMS has not processed the transaction, so that is a problem. Typically, that would be something where you would most likely, if you've not already received any notification of why the federal systems would not be able to process grants, that would be a help desk ticket in the making. Anne asks, what does FMS stand for? FMS is the FTA Financial Management System. It is an intermediary system that all of our applications use to interface with the U.S. Treasury. Linda asks, in the old team system, there were announcements like when the ecosystem would close for year end. Where is that in the new system? It's actually going to be on the Triad homepage. So as you log in to the overall Triad platform, Sunny's going there now. When she clicks home, it will show up here. Every time there's a new announcement, you will be routed to this page. It'll show up there on the homepage. Pedro says, so the PO number is not generated by the grantee. That is correct. It is an automated number. Ina asks, if you complete a reimbursement today and you need to correct the total amount that was entered, how much time do we have to correct it before it is processed? Again, you would need to go into that particular request, and it's going to show you on there the times. If you go to edit the request, it will show you the times when the payments are going to be processed. You would need to do it before the closest one of those times that has not yet passed. So if you entered a request right now, you would have until 1:50 p.m. today Eastern Standard Time to make that correction. Esaias, I apologize if I got that wrong. What is the cutoff date year for the legacy system team grant and transition to the new Tramstrand? Okay, so this is an interesting question. Way back in the day, pre-2016, FTA used a grant-making system called Team. Team is now defunct. There is no more Team. So the legacy system is gone. We are not issuing any more grants under Team. There is no longer any such thing as a Team grant, aside from these legacy grants that are still outstanding that still have funding on them. Everything has now transitioned over to TRAMS grants. But that being said, the actual grants themselves are designated as either Team or TRAMS to indicate which system in which they were made. The reason for that is that those two systems have different rules about how grants are handled because those change over time. So in ECHO, you select either Team or TRAMS grant to select the appropriate system that had originally administered that grant. Edwin asks, can you generate a PDF for the summary file? Would make things a lot easier for audit backups. A PDF for the summary file. Edwin, if you were talking about the overall Excel page that you can get here, we don't currently have any functionality to generate, or possibly this one. If you're looking at one of these confirmation pages, then yes, there's an option to export to PDF. If you're talking about the Excel files, currently it just goes into an Excel file. You are welcome to copy that over into a Word document or some other form that is PDFable. Natalie asks, is there a webinar guidance for using pay.gov? I am sure there is, but pay.gov is a non-FTA system. We can probably try and track down a link for that, though. Ken asks, who do you request a password reset for the ECHO system? So currently, everybody who logs into ECHO is fundamentally going in through login.gov. So if you need to reset your password, you would do that in login.gov as you are attempting to log into the system. Okay, Joy says, why was the edit payment option showing that it was locked? In that case, Joy, that indicates that that payment will not be transmitted to FMS so long as you were attempting to edit it. So by clicking the edit button, you are telling the system, don't send this to FMS, I want to work on it. So until you submit that payment request with your edits, it will not transmit it to FMS. She asked, does ACH number or request number reset after FTA's year-end financial reconciliation in September? At least one of those does. I'm forgetting off the top of my head which one it is. It's Greg or Sunny, do you remember? Is it the
request number?
The request number, thank you, yes. So that's the one that counts up with each request that you put in. It will reset at the end of the fiscal year. Let's see. Judith asks, is there a dollar threshold set for payment requests? There is not a lower threshold, but there is an upper threshold. Please bear in mind there are several thresholds where if you pass, I believe it's like $50 million, any request that is more than $50 million would need to be pre-cleared with your FTA regional office, and the system will display some notifications if you start to hit those upper levels. Matthew asks, how many of each role can you have within an agency? Well, you can have as many as you like, more or less. For the read-onlys, you can have as many user managers as you like. The grantees, I believe, are restricted to 2, and you can only have 1 approving official. So it's pretty wide open until you get down to the people who actually have to do things. Maria asked, do we have the ability to change the current email address? Our domain was changed, and I was trying to update it, but I couldn't. That is an interesting question. The short answer is that if you need to update your email address, what you actually are doing is creating a new user in the system. The system counts your email address as your user ID. So if you need to change your email address, you actually need to get a new user profile. Again, your user manager or your regional LSM, or in a pinch, the help desk can all help with those things. Jeanette asked, can the return and payment requests be on different grant numbers, or do they have to be for the same request grant? So as you're going through the payment request screen, the first thing that you do is you select the overall grant. And then within that grant, you can have different project numbers where you are playing with the funding. But overall, it has to be on the same grant. And last but not least, on my screen anyway, Greg, let me know if we have other people, but Roderick asked, will ECHO reject a payment request? The short answer is not really. So ECHO just transmits the requests upstream. ECHO will record if there is a problem with that payment request that has happened upstream. The only situations where ECHO would reject a payment request would be if you tried to do something on the payment request screen that ECHO won't allow. Like, for example, one of these things where you are trying to do a return that is more than a positive dollar value. And it's not that it will reject it, it just won't let you submit the request. So if you can push a request through ECHO, it is off into the other government financial systems from there. Some of those may reject the request, and in those situations, you would receive a no response on your request status once you clicked into the individual message number. Gregory, do we have any others that I missed, or is my meeting chat caught up?
No,
Oh boy,
there's
oh boy.
plenty more.
Okay. All right.
Helen Wu was asking, what is the scope code?
The scope code. That is a code that is assigned in TRAMS for a particular grant. So each of your grants will have particular scope codes that are assigned to them in TRAMS. If you need more information about what those are, I would suggest looking into TRAMS.
Right.
What else?
Marilyn asked, as a user manager, why are we not able to view the payment request or pull any reports of payments?
There is a thing called role-based authentication that the government is obliged to follow. This is fundamentally a security question. The way the government systems are supposed to be organized these days is that everyone is supposed to hold only the roles that they need in order to do the particular job that they need to accomplish within that system. So if I'm a user manager, my only job in the system is to add and remove users. By virtue of being a user manager, that does not impart on me any job requirement to actually see payment requests, which is why we have the read-only role, or the grantee role for that matter. But some other role would need to be appended to the user manager role in order for that person to be acknowledged as having the job that requires them to actually view that information.
All right. Michelle Craig asks, why would you want to do a return and a payment request at the same time?
Typically to note that the agency is quote unquote returning funds from a previous a drawdown that had been slightly more than expected. That's the only real reason.
Okay. Mallory Wickland said you haven't gotten to it yet, but how do we change the bank account information for which account our deposits are coming into? I thought it was supposed to go into the account associated with sam.gov, but ours is still not.
Hmm. That is probably an accounting question within FTA. So all of that information is held at the budget office level within our organization. I would suggest putting in a help desk ticket, and it can get routed as needed.
Right. Matthew Curian said, do you have a funds available report by PO number, project, or all?
I don't believe so at this time. Sunny, correct me if I'm wrong.
The project number you can filter down and
Okay, all right.
Let's see. Carol Lammy said, can the user manager change the approving official?
Yes, they can.
Let's see. Jennifer Ropak. Sorry if I messed that up. If you refund the money via pay.gov, does it automatically update the available balance in Echo, or do we have to perform the return in addition to the pay.gov request?
It will automatically update the balance, but give it like a day or two. Again, the key thing with all these government financial systems is, and again, unfortunately, I have to say this, is that not all of them are going to be instantaneous updates across the whole like federal government. So it typically takes a day or two for things to filter back into various systems.
All right, let me see. Stephanie Wrangle, previously only 2 people could have access to make payments. Is this still the case?
That is still the case. Only 2 people can have the grantee role.
I wonder if this one was answered already. Renee asked, can the user manager do payment requests?
No, they cannot. That's a good question, but the answer is no, they cannot. Only the grantee user can do payment requests. So again, this is a role assignment thing. The roles that you have in the system determine what you can do, and government security indicates that we should all be looking to have as few roles as possible in order to perform our jobs for the interest of operational security.
All right, John Tower, you can do a net zero request. In the past, you could not. Is this correct?
Sunny, help me with that one. I vaguely recall that we had to have at least $1 on a payment request.
yes, that's correct. Has to be positive number.
Yep. Yep. So have to have at least $1.
Right. Tina asked, so if you're correcting a wrong scope, you can do a positive to the correct code and a negative to the incorrect one, making a zero request.
Correct. Yes.
And I think you mentioned about the updated balance, how long it takes to appear in trams for
Yeah.
the grant
It
draw.
typically, again, it typically takes several days, up to a week in some cases.
Okay, let me see. Uh, just scanning here real quick. If there was any other, Wendy said, do we know when the ecosystem will be going down for federal fiscal year end?
Yes, we do. It will be going down on, let me grab my thing here. I believe it is September either September 27th or September the 29th. It's one of those two. It's that final week in September. We will be sending out some additional notifications and alerts on that as that time approaches.
It'll be September 27th, Matt. Just to
Thank you,
confirm.
Abdi. Yep.
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 It'll be Wednesday, September 27th, through Friday, October 6th.
Thank you very much. Yep. So there we go.
Renee Cross asked, does each organization need to have 2 user managers?
I would recommend it personally. Need is a strong word. I would say you definitely need at least one. I would personally advocate for 2. because that way, if one of them's out of the office, the other one can do that work if needed.
Luke Stoltz asked, is there a report that can be generated that would show the available balance on all outstanding awards/scopes?
Again, Sunny, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't believe so at this time. But help me with that if there is one.
So the report generates each line items when you generate along with this report.
Oh, I
So if
see.
you-
So, gotcha. So the short answer is actually yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Abel Ruiz asked, how about if we have to pull some information from the old system? For example, any receipts or confirmations?
We actually ported that all over into the new EchoWeb version here. So there are a number of old payment requests that will be shown as having the status of legacy. And those, yeah, so if we pull some of those up, so we may not have any in our UAT environment here since it was all new stuff. But in the real world, several of the requests for everybody should have that legacy request status, and that would indicate that they came from the legacy EchoWeb system. We didn't throw any of it away, we promise.
Tim Turner asked, our approving official is active locked. How do we unlock this official?
The official can typically go in and unlock themselves. All they have to do is attempt to log into the system. They will be prompted to answer security questions. Once they answer those, they can unlock themselves. Alternately, the user manager can do it. Failing that, the LSM can do it. Failing that, the help desk can do it. We would typically advise that people start by answering their security questions.
All right. Megan Dale asked, is there any FTA approval needed to submit a return amount on a grant?
There is not.
Okay. Carrie Stern asked, I am the user manager for my organization. How do I change the authorizing official?
You would go into Faces. You would search for that official. And then you would either add or remove the role from, if you were wanting to remove a role from someone, you would go into their roles and remove that role. If you were standing up a new authorizing official, you would either add a role to an existing user or create a new user with the authorizing, with the approving official role. But that would all be done through Faces.
All right. Linda Volk, will the request number be added to the payment request summary?
Let's go ahead and pop up the payment request summary for any of them, I suppose. Let's see. So I think when we're talking about the request number, because we've got our payment number, we've got our
Request number would be in the confirmation PDF.
Yeah, there we go. I knew it was in there somewhere. Yeah, there we go. So we have our request number is 23. We can consider adding that to the main screen there. Yeah, let's take that as an action, team. That should be fairly straightforward. Any other questions?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay. I will
George,
point out we are now at about 12 o'clock. We're at 12 o'clock noon. We'll try to get through as many as we can in the next maybe 15 minutes. And then after that, if there are any remaining, we'll need to figure out if we want to answer those either email or the session on Thursday.
Georgia asked, can the read-only role be able to generate reports and payment request confirmations?
It should be able to do both. You should be able to do, so read-only in this sense should mean that you're able to view everything in the system, just not put in any new payment requests.
Okay. Isaiah Whitmore asked, come September, will the login consist of ID me in conjunction with the login.gov?
Not to my knowledge. And I would hope they would tell me about it since I'm supposed to be running the thing.
Carol Tate asked, how long does it take to get access once your application is submitted?
For a user, is that if that's the question, then typically as soon as your user manager or your LSM can put it in, it's instantaneous from that point. So it's the only delay is on the human side.
All right, sorry, I lost track of where I was. Okay. Tina asked, so if you're correcting a wrong scope, you can do a positive to the correct code and a negative to the incorrect one, making a 0. Oh, wait, I think I already asked that one. Whoops, I went too far ahead, or too far back. Give me 1 second here. Ooh, I think I lost track of where I was. Sorry.
Okay. I will say I've seen a number of requests for the training information that we have here, as well as some other requests for PowerPoints or PDFs. The training is going to be posted up on the help section of Echo Web as soon as we're done with this week. If there are other specific report requests that you have, please send those in to the help desk.
Trying to see if there's any big questions here.
There's another one that I'm seeing from Simone Reed. User managers cannot annually recertify themselves, so you need to. That's partially correct. User managers actually should not be able to recertify each other the way the system is currently set up. The LSMs actually do the recertification for user managers. It's still a valid reason to have two, though, because during recertification periods, which occur every year, the user managers are asked to recertify all of the other users within an organization. And if you don't have two and that person happens to be out of office for the month, then there's a risk of those users getting locked out. So again, I would always recommend having two user managers, at least two. Keith is asking, is there any more training for today?
I think Abdi already answered that one.
Yeah. So very minimal. We've gone through the main points. The only things that we would have wanted to click on at this stage were basically the account management tab, which is just going to show you your organization's information. So if we go over there, this shows all the users within your organization. And if you click on the recipients tab, that actually shows your organization information. That's the only other big section of Echo Web. And then the help tab, the last bit there, this is where we have posted our user guide. There are FAQs. There are also various other uploaded documents and trainings that are available from this tab. That's mostly it.
I also noticed a lot of people asking about the PDF. Is that going to be available, or of the training? Is it going to be
Yes,
available?
we will upload that to this help section at the end of the week. So we've got one more training session on Thursday. We typically do not upload the trainings until we've gone through the cycle, just in case there's any changes that we need to make to the presentation, but we will be uploading that at the end of the week.
I'm trying to see if there's any other outliers or big ones.
All right.
Does the new system prompt me when I need to change password? That was Nina that asked that.
That is a great question. Login.gov is a nice progressive password management system in the sense that it does not require that you change your password every X number of days. So it doesn't make you change your password at all, as far as I'm aware, unless there's been some sort of security incident where it feels the need for you to change it. So once you have your password set in login.gov, you should be good. If there are any other reasons why you would need to change that password, for example, if there's a security breach or something like that, login.gov will send out notifications that the users need to take some form of action.
All right, there's a really good question from somebody that's no longer on the call, but is the $50 million reimbursement request threshold where you need to notify the FTA regional office based on an individual request or the cumulative requests done by the recipient under a FAIN for that day?
I believe it is cumulative for that day. Otherwise, it wouldn't make a lot of sense. Yeah.
Nancy Pearson asked, the project numbers are only showing up under one of our two grantee / user managers. How do we get the project numbers added to the other one?
That would be probably a check of their roles to make sure that they have the correct grantee role. If you have a look and they both have the grantee role for your organization, I'm not sure what else would be causing that. I would say that's probably a help desk ticket in the making. But provided that they have that grantee role, they should be able to see the various purchase request or the payment request.
We're coming around to the last couple of questions here. Tiana asked, what would show in the My Task tab?
My tasks is any open task that has not yet been submitted. So any payment request that you've started but haven't finished would show up here. That's really all that will show up in My Tasks for the Echo web system. That's the only major thing. So it's just to remind you if you've started a payment request, but you haven't clicked submit yet.
And the last question, how long does it take pay.gov to process a payment? Payment through pay.gov was submitted to and receipt acknowledged by pay.gov 2 weeks ago, but the bank statement is still not reflecting the payment. Who should one contact to check on this situation?
You should contact pay.gov. I'm sorry that I don't have a good answer to that. I don't know that there is I don't know that we have any information on their average time to complete a request.
I think that's all of the major questions. I think we're caught up.
Okay, thanks everybody. We are now at 12:10, so we're just a little bit over. Thank you all for your patience. We still have quite a few people who stuck around with us today. And also I apologize for technical difficulties. Normally my chat works a little bit better. Once again, we do have another training coming up on Thursday. We will be going over all this information again on Thursday. The same group of people will be on the call as well on Thursday. So if you have any other requests or anything else that you would like an answer to, please feel free to join that call. Otherwise, please feel free to send us email. Please feel free to contact the help desk. We have multiple avenues open for communication. We're very happy to receive any questions or comments or suggestions on any of those avenues of communication. But otherwise, we're going to go ahead and call it for today. Thank you all so much for your time. Thank you for your attention and for all the really good questions. We like hearing these questions. It always gives us some more information on where we can make improvements or if there's other things that we need to highlight in future trainings. So thank you all very much. We're going to go up, and I see that Hong has a hand up. We've got a couple of hands up, actually. And Helen has a hand up. Helen, did you have a question you wanted to put in chat? And Greg, you may have to help me here because I still can't see it.
Oh, she said, sorry, wrong button.
Oh, sorry, wrong button. Fair enough. All right. Well, thank you all very much. Again, we appreciate your time. For anybody else who joins us on Thursday, we will look forward to seeing you then. Otherwise, everybody have a very happy Tuesday and a good lunch. And we're going to go ahead and call it here. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.